Crilley.
How are you today?
I am doing great and super excited to be here with you.
Awesome. Super excited to have you. And if you're watching us live, if you could share it, that would be so great. And if you are watching and you have questions for Lisa that come up, please go ahead and click all the way through to Sacred Fire Creative and type them into the comments, and we'll be able to bring those up on the screen. If you are watching us live or on the replay, type in the comments, let us know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see where people are chiming in from. So, and Lisa, where are you today?
So I am on the east side of Cleveland in Ohio, and
Awesome.
it is not outrageously warm today, but it is not snowing yet. So that is a good thing.
Are you expected to get that storm where you are? Oh,
We're expected to get a little bit of snow this week, but not horribly bad.
okay. Awesome. Yeah, so I'm in McMinnville, Oregon, which it's a couple hours outside of Portland in wine country, and it's pretty mild out today. So I know that some people are just out playing in the sun, which would be nice.
Right? I know.
We're dedicated. We're dedicated to business. So we're here today. And Lisa, you and I met through NAWBO. So I want to acknowledge them. It's a wonderful organization. If you haven't heard of it before, I'm going to type it into the screen so people will have that. And NAWBO stands for the National Association of Women Business Owners. And every Wednesday, they have an open forum for women in business that they're doing right now during COVID-19 for free. So you can check that out. It's at 2:00 p.m. Pacific or 5:00 Eastern. And you can find it at nawbo.org. So, and Lisa and I were talking, and Lisa, I know you have a lot of work that you do, and we talked about the topic of productivity, and that's really interesting. But I want to kind of back up and let everybody know a little bit more about you and how you got to where you are and how did that happen. Can you share with us?
Absolutely. I always love to share my story. I figure it gives people hope. So I started my professional career actually in high school education. So I was a math teacher and then I was an administrator. And I learned through that time that, like I call it life lesson number one. Just because you're really good at something doesn't mean it's what you're meant to be or meant to do. And so I was good as a math teacher. I was good as an administrator, and I quickly realized that I didn't love it. I liked it, but I couldn't see myself spending 30 years doing it. So I started to think, okay, if not this, then what? And I had no idea. And in the meantime, a number of people kept coming to me asking me to help them with similar enough things that I was like, oh yeah, hit me over the head with it. I see now, which led me to my big life lesson number two, which was that just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it's easy for everyone. Right. And I think sometimes we feel like, oh, because time management and productivity comes really easy for me, then everyone must have that skill.
Yeah.
And I think the easier it is for you, the better you can monetize it. Because it just means going to work every day is fun because it's what I love to do. Now, the part that I always say I like to share so that people have hope is I was really good in the time management part of productivity, which means that there wasn't a calendar I couldn't squeeze 15 more minutes out of. Like things didn't fall through the cracks. Like all of that was super simple. But what wasn't easy was figuring out what's the big picture and am I living my life in accordance with my big picture goals? Like you can get caught doing things and go nowhere. Like I always laugh. I was like, yeah, I was going nowhere, but I was going really fast. And so, so then it was a matter of figuring out, okay, who am I? How can I best serve? What's my natural skill set? And then how do I actually enjoy my life instead of just checking things off the to-do list?
Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, I hear a lot of people, and not just women or women business owners, a lot of people saying that they're really busy. And so one of my mentors actually says busy is like a bad word. Because
Yes.
I mean, the goal isn't to be busy. It's, and I like that you're focusing on productivity, because you don't want to just go fast, go nowhere fast. You want to be doing the right things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say to people like, you're carrying your busy around like a badge of honor. It's like we're fighting. I'm so busy. You're so, oh no, I'm busier. Oh, how are you? Oh, I'm so busy. And like, but as if it were something to be proud of. And it's not.
I love that. So I'm putting it on the screen as a little quote for you. And I do that. I tend to do that during the interviews, just to, it's almost like my way of taking notes on certain things you're saying, and making sure that the people who maybe aren't able to listen at this time and they're just watching, they can see what we're talking about. So you're carrying your busy around like a badge of honor. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think that that's the case anymore, that people should be proud of being busy.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that we're finding right now. I mean, this is a horrible time. And and I know we can look at the silver lining, and I don't want to minimize the fact that this is not the best time. And when we look past that to, okay, we are here now, and what can we gain from it? I'm seeing a lot less of that. I'm so busy.
Right.
Which makes my heart sing.
No, that's great. And I mean, and this is kind of getting a little bit philosophical, but hey, why not? Hey, no, why not? I feel like a lot of what I'm doing on Facebook Live with business owners is having a conversation, and just exposing that it's not always so pretty, or it's not always so planned, right? And getting down a little deeper to get to know one another, I think, is very important, and showing that we can do it through this virtual medium, which is really difficult for people. And it's hard for people to make that adjustment. Some people have always done the virtual, but a lot of people, this is new. So I've done quite a few tutorials on how to use Zoom for people, and how to make that switch over. And so it's an interesting thing. But I mean, aside from that, just the time that we have now during COVID-19, where we're staying at home, or we're not necessarily doing what we were doing before. So it's a new time. And for me, I'm seeing that a lot of what we can do is really think more deeply about where we want to be. So where do we want to be? How do we want to show up? What do we want to offer? I mean, now is a great time to really dive deep into that.
Yes.
And so it's coming up in conversation a lot. Maybe I'm just putting it there, but for me, it's a time to really look at, okay, well, was what I was doing before, is that what I want to continue doing? Is that serving me? Is that filling my heart? And so when you're talking about, okay, you're doing this thing that you were really good at, right? So you're really excelling at math, and that's unusual. A lot of people struggle with math, right? So you have this skill, and so it uniquely puts you in a situation where, okay, and you can teach it well, and you're an administrator now, and then what, right? And so you're seeing to yourself, like, you have to step back and sort of say, well, what is it that's going to make my heart sing? What is it that's going to really be uplifting to me and feel like it's my gift? This is what I'm going to share.
Right.
So you mentioned that you had people who asked you for certain things for a long time, right? And so is that kind of how it came about? What were the kinds of things that they were asking you to help them with?
Yeah. And it's funny because when I tell the story, like you tell a story and it feels like the time frame was condensed, as if people asked me for stuff and I immediately made the decision and then started my business, and it was immediately successful. Like it took, like they asked me for stuff over the course of like maybe 6 months, but it took a while.
Yeah.
to make that decision. And what I found was that most people were asking me to help them rein in the chaos, and it looked differently for different people. So for one person, she ran a business out of her home, and she had someone show up for an appointment, and she was still in her pajamas because she forgot that she had the appointment, because she didn't have a solid system to collect and keep appointments together. And so she called and she's like, I need your help. I can't do that again. I'm thinking, really? Like, okay, that was the straw. And in the same, probably within a couple of weeks, I had someone call and say, I just don't know what to do. I have a couple part-time staff. Again, she worked out of her home, and she says, and I brought them in and I made them lunch, and we sat around and we ate lunch for an hour and a half. And I was like, okay. And she goes, and then I really didn't know what else I needed them to do. And so I just sent them home. And I was like, okay, so if you add up the cost for all your part-time staff, you had a very expensive lunch, because that's all that was accomplished. And she really didn't have a good solid system for how do I determine who does what task, how can they work independently of me, and then move on from there. So those are just two examples of, in both of them, I find typically that clients who seek me out have had a straw that broke the camel's back. I was sitting at a lunch. It was a NAWBO lunch, actually. We were sitting there, and the woman across the table opened up her purse and realized she didn't have her wallet. And she looked at me and she goes, okay, I need to hire you. And I was like, what? And she goes, I've been thinking about it for a long time, but the fact that I left the house and came without my wallet, and this isn't the first time I've left my house and come without my wallet, means I need a better system. And so actually my first business, or my LLC, is actually called System Savvy Consulting. And then I now do business under my DBA of Impactive Strategies. But it started out as helping people create systems. And then it grew to pass the system, like to what we've been talking about, what actually matters. But at the beginning, it was all about systems.
Yeah. And it shows, you need a system, or many systems, to make your business run properly. And so if you don't have that, it is a good place to start. So you started out with helping people with those systems. And was it the kind of thing where they were always identifying, okay, you said this straw has broken the camel's back. So they figured out, okay, I can't have this happen again. Is that kind of what has happened for them?
That was definitely where it started. It absolutely started there. I can't have someone show up at my house when I'm in my pajamas for an appointment. Like, I can't look at my payroll and realize that I'm paying people to have lunch with me, and then I'm staying up until 10 o'clock at night getting the work done. I can't show up in a professional arena again without the things that I need, including my credit card. Like, it was that at the beginning, it was that. Now that my business has shifted a little, clients tend to seek me out now that they're working too much. Like, they just feel like I'm working too much. You start your business because you want freedom, and then you're tied to your business, and you're like, wait a minute, that's not why I started this. And so typically that's now why people reach out to me. They're just like, I just feel like I'm not getting what I wanted out of life because I'm tied to the business all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is it sort of like, where people, they approach a burnout, they approach kind of like that. They're doing everything. They're wearing all the hats, and they don't know where they need to delegate or create some automation so that they can free up more of their time to do things that they are the best at, that they can only do.
Exactly. I call that zone of genius.
Yes.
Like, as a business owner, you want to live in your zone of genius.
Yes.
And then let other people do the rest. In fact, we will, shameless plug for NAWBO, Friday, I'm doing our Connect and Learn, which is open to members and non-members alike. And we will be talking about delegating and zone of genius and things like that.
Nice. Yes. I love that. So this morning I did a NAWBO workshop on Instagram for business, and I had she came in, she was in NAWBO Inland Empire. So I love that, like, we can all share our resources, especially right now because we're just online. So it's almost the best time for people to check it out because there's so much available. And so you said yours is on Friday. And so if they're looking for your workshop, what is it called? Like, what would they look up?
It's number one strategy to, what is it? Number one, let me tell you, let me look at it. We've changed the name a couple times. Oh. Number one strategy to increase efficiency.
Okay.
And so NAWBO.org is the place to go.
Increase efficiency. Love it. Okay. And so that one is on Friday, right?
Yes. And what I love about our NAWBO's on-demand platform is that register, whether you're going to attend live, like, of course, I want everyone to attend live. It's way more fun as a presenter if you have people asking questions along the way. However, the content is available. It lives in the Institute, so people can get it no matter what. And right now the Institute is open. Most of the parts of the Institute are open to members and non-members alike.
Yeah, that's great. And I didn't even realize that the Institute was open for non-members. So
yeah, there's only a couple places that are still closed that are member-only perks, but all these lunch and learns and connect and learns and all those pieces are open. Oh, thanks, Diana.
Look, Diana's watching. Hi, Diana. If you guys are watching, would you just type in like hi or let us know where you're watching from? It's always good to see. But thank you, Diana, for that. So she's got the link, which, you know, you could copy down or look at NAWBO.org for their events. Number one strategy to increase efficiency. Thanks, Diana. I just got off a Zoom with her, also talking about the Instagram for business. So it's like a NAWBO day.
Right.
Which is great. Yeah. And so, okay, so you're helping people with increasing efficiency, improving their business, really enjoying what they're doing more. We had a lady join on I did a Women Connecting Women virtual community connection for NAWBO Oregon on Monday. And it's open also to anybody who wants to join. And there was a lady who, I'm going to put this up on the screen. Sorry. Diana. Hi, Diana. She says, hi, Lisa and Molly. So great to see you too. Aw, thank you so much for watching. Awesome. And so anyway, I was just telling a story of, I met this woman who, I think she actually might have been from Minnesota. I'm not sure. But anyway, she said that she increases joy by helping people avoid or not get into burnout anymore. Right. And so I think that that's definitely part of what you do by increasing their effectiveness and their strategy and their efficiency. I mean, that definitely increases your fulfillment in what you're doing and hopefully your joy too. But
right.
What are some, and not to give away what you're doing this Friday, so you don't have to give any of those tips away. But here, I'll just put NAWBO back up on the screen. But what are some things you see often that you're just saying to yourself, you know, like we were talking about, this may come easy to you, but it doesn't come easy to other people. So what are some things that you're like, wow, I've done this over and over, and I think that it's just one of those things that's always going to come up?
Yeah, I think that one is that feeling that you have to do it all yourself. Mm-hmm. And you know, I had someone once tell me, well, of course, because these are all type A personalities and blah, blah, blah. And that's not actually what I find with the people that I typically work with. What I find is they just haven't been able to create the space to think about how they can get rid of something on their plate. Like, it isn't that they're doing it because they're holding on and can't let go, at least not typically the clients they work with. It's usually because they can't figure out how to clear headspace. You know how, like, I think the hardest thing to do is put time on your calendar to think, and then keep that time there to think.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so easy to push that time aside. Oh, I'll just answer this last email, or I'll think tomorrow because today I need to do blah, 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 10-minute task, 10-minute task, 10-minute task that will eat up that whole hour so quickly. And so one of the things I find is that it's hard for people to delegate. And it's not hard for the reason most people think of letting go. It's hard because they just can't even think about what's the alternative. What does it look like? So that's definitely one thing that I see.
Mm-hmm. No, that is a good point. And I feel like sometimes my clients, when they come to our Zoom meetings, to have that space to think about their business and not be working, in the business. They're working on the business. And it's because they need that accountability, almost like that's what we're going to do during this time. We're going to be thinking more broadly about your strategies and how it's going to help your business. But on their own, they'll put that on their to-do list, or they'll put that on their calendar, like you said. And it does get pushed around because they'll see, client priorities come up, or they have to take care of this emergency right away, or put out these fires, right? So,
right. That's the second thing I see all the time. I couldn't do blah, blah, blah because I was putting out fires all day.
Yeah.
That is absolutely the second biggest thing that I see. And I think about it, what's a fire? And I have a definition of fire, and they have a definition of fire, and they are not the same. Because basically most of my clients will treat anything unexpected as a fire, which then puts them in reactive mode all day long, right, instead of proactive mode, where at the end of the day, when they look back, they're like, if they look back, because typically we're sliding into the end of the day, rushing out to go do something else. And when they look back, they're like, oh, wait a minute. That stuff wasn't really a fire. I just didn't take 10 seconds to think. And so that's the second thing that I find.
Okay. So do you have like these numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
No, those are my two big. I should.
Those are your two big ones. Okay.
Right. I feel like I should have those numbered. No, but those are the two big ones. Being reactive because of putting out fires, and then feeling like you have to do everything yourself because you just haven't been able to take the time to think about what the alternative looks like.
So I don't know about you, but I think that what I hear often are reasons, which, they might be considered excuses.
Yep.
To not delegate, or to, not put their strategy first and put themselves in this reactive mode. Is there anything that you can suggest or say that would help people who are maybe like, in that mode and feeling that way?
Good question. And so let me see if I can come up with an intelligent answer for you. What I typically find, so I may or may not answer your question. I'm going to probably walk around it. Okay. So what I typically find with my clients is we will set a goal at the beginning of our coaching, and I'll say, in 90 days, what needs to happen for you to know that you've made a good decision to work with me? Then when we come to a place in our coaching where that reason or excuse pops up, I'm usually able to anchor back to, okay, so you said in 90 days this was important to you. Does this, what you just chose to do, get you closer to that? And so I think I am kind of going to answer your question now. My advice would be, in general, remember why.
Yeah.
So like, why did you start your business? Like, what is it that you said, I want to own my own business? And when you start to find yourself slipping away, doing other stuff, anchor back to, why'd you start your business? Yeah. So it's that bigger piece than the obvious right there idea.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. I definitely have clients anchor back to their why or who they are. And for me, of course, it's more like anchoring into their brand and what their brand also represents for themselves and for their clients, so that they're consistent in sending a clear message. One of the things I think would be interesting to hear is I've made appointments with people, right? And then, it doesn't matter who they are. I mean, they could be NAWBO people or whoever, but they're business people. They're not like your personal appointments, right? So they're just make a business appointment and you say, okay, I'm going to meet at this time. And in the pre-COVID-19 world, you'd meet for coffee or meet in person or meet at the office. And then now it'd be like meeting via Zoom. And what I've found is that previously, like before I was in business, I didn't even think about appointments the way I do now. And now, I mean, it's extremely rare for me to not hold my appointment. There has to be like this meltdown,
Right?
or like some major emergency and crisis that is like, life or death, or, really serious, not, oh, well, I had a client call, so I took that one instead. What do you think about that? What's your opinion?
All right, let's see here. So a couple of things. I think that I'll use this for myself. I think being a woman of my word is one of my guiding principles. And I also get that not everyone has that same principle or same whatever. And so people will make decisions for different reasons. So not going to say I've never canceled an appointment for a reason, because I absolutely have. And usually my criteria if I need to cancel on someone is I look at, am I doing them more good by us not meeting? So, so like there are times where like maybe I'm under the weather and we were meeting in person. And so maybe I'll try to shift it to a phone call or virtual, or just say, look, I'm wiped out. I'm sick. You don't want what I have. Let's reschedule.
Yeah.
Like, so usually that, like, those are the reasons that I typically will reschedule, is because I'm ill. I don't reschedule based on something better coming up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but what I'll see is clients will overbook their calendars, and they'll fry themselves out to where they can't hold later appointments. So I think that's a piece too. But again, it's about who are you when no one's looking? And I think there's two things. Some people will cancel appointments and don't care. And for those people that I know they're not ideal clients for me, it's the people who cancel the appointments and wish they didn't have to, wish they wouldn't have, don't know how not to. Right. Those are the people that are ideal clients for me, but those are also the people that I tend to want to associate with. Like, if someone's going to cancel me and don't care, I don't really think I want to be in their circle.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. I think that's why I wanted to ask you the question. I'll let you talk about it, because, a lot of times if it's an honest mistake, or if they are sick, of course, yeah, reschedule. But yeah, if they are just like, oh, something, like you said, something better came up.
Right.
Something better came up, then a strategic partner, I think you're missing out. And I probably wouldn't even refer business to that person or do business with that person, let alone be in their circle. So right. Yeah, definitely. I think that's what's been really nice about NAWBO is most people I have met within NAWBO, like you or like other people from, other chapters, it's been a really wonderful experience, and really upholding their integrity and being being serious and professional, but friendly and open about what they're doing, and realizing that it's not just all, it's not all serious. It's, your business should also be fun. It should also fulfill your heart. So I love that part.
Right. I just, as we're talking about how great NAWBO is, I just put a request out for a connection in our NAWBO National Facebook page or group. And people are right away responding. Like, I just put it out there, and people are making connections for me. The community, when I tell people, because obviously this is all about, you should join NAWBO if you haven't already, as we go down that path. But when people say, why should I, what's so great about it? I always say it's a group of women who are focused on a common goal.
Yes.
And who will help when asked. And that's how I view, you and I meeting and talking. And I mean, our paths would probably never have crossed if not for reaching out during that Connect and Learn.
No, it's great. It's great. And I'm so glad that we got to connect and that I get to know you better, and also help other business owners learn about productivity and about their connections that they're making in business too. Let's see, what other things do you want to share that are important in your world right now?
Wow. What? Help me out. Narrow the question for my brain. Just went 80 places at once.
Well, I think the question for me would be, how has your business changed as a result of COVID-19?
Good question. I was actually just speaking with my aunt earlier today about this very same thing. In some ways, not at all. So my one-on-one clients who are already in a coaching relationship with me, many of their goals have changed based on where they are with their businesses, but our work has not. Now, some of the corporate training that I was doing and breakout sessions and keynote sessions for conferences, that has disappeared for the moment. Training within a company, we're just moving that virtual. So it's just, not that big of a deal. But mixed groups, we don't know when they're going to come together again. A lot of conferences have been postponed. So that has slid away. I also recognize that new clients coming in, that's paused a little bit. This is not right now, in my experience so far. People are still in that reaction phase. Many of them, they're either trying to figure out, how do they pivot? Should they pivot? What loans should they apply for? Are they eligible for X, Y, or Z? How do they take care of their employees? And so they're not yet at that place where they're looking to, what you do today is building habits for where we are 30, 60, 90 days down the road. Mm-hmm. And people aren't yet looking at that place of, ooh, what habits do I want to build? So I think my part right now on the new clients is on pause-ish until people get over that hump of, oh my gosh, what do I do next? So I think of a kind of Maslow's triangle. A lot of us are still down there on the bottom. Mm-hmm. And what I do tends to come up a little bit higher. And so I think, so that's one of the things I've noticed is I'm not having as many conversations as I typically would with people, because they're still trying to figure out, where are they?
Where are they? I just took notes on what you were saying.
I saw it. What habits do I want to build?
So what habits do I want to build? So what you're doing today is going to affect what you're doing 30, 60, 90 days from now, and even more. Well,
from a marketing perspective, what you do today, you see results, 90 days probably down the road. Mm-hmm. And so, and I'm not saying that you should go out and learn a new language right now, or that you should, there's a lot of that going on Facebook. Well, if you didn't do this, this, and this because you didn't have time, and now you have time and you're not doing it, it just means you're not disciplined. Not at all what I believe. Don't believe that in the least. I think that you have to take care of you first and then figure out, put your own oxygen mask on first before you figure out the rest. Like, I think you definitely have to do that stuff. And you also have to be aware that you are creating habits by breathing. Are they the habits that you want? Like, I'm so proud. I have walked every day outside since the 16th of March. So, like, I am way proud of that. You're like, the 16th of April, we're not there yet. But like, I because
I know what date it is.
You're like, where are we at? But that was one of the things that I've said. I need to get out of my office more. I need to get out and walk more. I need to do that. And this has allowed me the opportunity to build that habit in.
Nice.
I also know that I scroll Facebook more now than I ever have. That's not a habit. I scroll Facebook now more than I ever have. Not a habit I would like to sustain moving forward. So I have a little bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, I have to think about that because definitely moving is important. So like, movement, not like moving my house or anything, but definitely that's a habit I want to build more. For us, my husband and I are snowboarders. And so that season is just done. It was just like ended abruptly, right? When it was also getting good. And so that's like a first world problem, right? So, so not doing that, I'm thinking, okay, well, how can I replace all of that exercise and activity with what am I going to do now? So it's walking or biking. Mm-hmm. So we're doing that and hiking a little bit. So that's been nice. But yeah, getting outside is really important, getting out in nature. And I definitely love thinking about, okay, what do you want to build? Because I think if we just focus on, and I did this for a couple of weeks, I did this only look at what the media is putting out for like it's too much, right? And so you might think like, oh, I want to stay on top of the news, but then it just can get so heavy, right? And it's not to minimize what's going on. It's just to realize that you also need to, like you said, put your mask on first, meaning like, take care of yourself, take care of your own health and wellness first. And that's inside and out, emotional, mental, psychological, spiritual, all of those, your wellness before you really, look outside of yourself. Are you finding that the things that you're helping people with are crossing over personal to the personal side from business and business to personal?
Always. It's usually about halfway through whatever program people are in, we'll do a check-in, we review and reflect. Here's what you said you wanted a couple months ago. How do you feel you're doing there? And do we need to adapt anything moving forward? And so we'll do that about halfway through. And always, I will hear, I can't believe how the work I'm doing here in my business is also crossing over to my personal life.
Yes.
And I think part of that is our society. It's not very few people that I work with go in, not even very few. None of the people I work with go in at 9, do a job that is the same job and leave at 5. Like everyone has a more integrated life with their personal life and their business. And so whatever skills we're building here carry over all the time.
Nice. What kind of skills do you think are going to be more important now that we're going through this?
Yeah, I think so. One of them is the ability to create your own structure. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I'll work with people who came from corporate of some sort to start their own business. And one of the things they struggle with is when they worked for someone else, they told them what to do. And they had a lot of structure built in. And then when they went out on their own, they didn't have that structure anymore. And so it was about building that structure. And pre-COVID, COVID-19, people had a routine, they had structure. Then this happened, which threw it all open, threw it wide open for whatever reason. And maybe that there's more people in the house than there were before. It may be that the work you were doing is even more relevant than it ever was before. And, there's just a lot of different things that are going on. And it's being able to, again, create that structure. I don't think, and again, this is my own personal opinion based on nothing but my own opinion. I don't think we go back to where we were at the beginning of March. I think we go back to a new place. In this new place, a lot of us are doing things that we didn't think we could do. Or I have a client who is probably not going to renew her lease when it's up because she realized that she can work virtually. Her whole staff can work virtually, and they can keep one office instead of a whole suite of offices.
Yeah.
And so it's creating that new structure there. And being able to recognize. So I think it's being able to, so I think to answer your question, I think part of what will be important moving forward is figuring out how to create that structure so that you can be effective in that. Usually I say effective, efficient, productive, but being effective, I also think the skill that's going to be useful on the other side is being able to keep the number one thing, the number one thing. Right now, as we had talked about earlier, we're all kind of pulling into what's important to us because we've been forced, many of us have been forced to slow down. And what happens when everything starts reopening again?
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to keep the number one thing starts to be a really important skill.
I like that. I found that having not just coaches, but also advisors, and also I have masterminds. I have so many people I go to,
right?
The ridiculous numbers of people who I go to, but it helps me to kind of stay grounded and keep that number one thing, the number one thing, But going back to also what you said about this ability to create your own structure, I've realized that I don't know if I ever turned to somebody to help me create my structure. And I live by my calendar. So I am a, Google Calendar. Everything is synced with it. Oh, we've talked about this before. So I really love that. But do you have any things that people are doing? Maybe is there a right way and a wrong way to do something, or something you've seen that you are saying that people need to stop doing or start doing?
Okay. So as far as right and wrong, I don't believe in that type of an absolute for everyone. What I do believe is that everyone needs some type of structure, and the amount of structure and the type of structure is going to differ person to person because we're all different people. And I think this comes back to my years in education. We all have different learning styles. We all have different time styles. We all have different space styles. We all have different motivators. And that's one of the things that I'll say to clients is, look, I've read the time management books and the productivity books and the efficiency books. I've read a lot of them. You don't have to. Because those books are created for a subset of people. There are certain people who are going to do great with getting things done. There's another subset of people who are going to do great with 8 Habits of Highly Effective People. Those are, some people like essentialism, some people like the one thing. And what happens is I'll find that a lot of my clients have read the book and tried to make themselves fit the book instead of looking at what part of the book fits them. And so when it's is there a right way to build structure, or is there a wrong way, or is there, I think it's figuring out your way. So like you said, Google Calendar is your thing. You live and die by the Google Calendar. I used to be embarrassed to even share this. I'm a paper calendar.
Paper.
My learning style is tactile. I need to write in order to remember. Now, I have an online calendar. I have a Google Calendar, and people can schedule appointments with me through there. But it's in my paper calendar because that's what connects to my brain. And so I think it's more about what is the right thing. Like I had a client once say to me, I just need you to tell me the tools. And I was like, no, there's not the magic tool. There isn't a magic app. It's about finding what fits you. If it's hard or if it requires a lot of discipline, it's wrong. It's the wrong solution. It's about finding the solutions that use your strengths already that you can then move forward with.
I love that. I love that you're talking about that it should be, there's this flow and ease to it, not, you're pushing something up a hill, right?
Right.
And
yes.
I love also that maybe it's because, you have this teacher background, but the different learning styles and individual choices are very important to you, and that you're not treating each person like the same. There's no cookie cutter. There's no like one method that's going to work. So all of that really resonates with me. That I do that with my marketing for my clients. It's not like a one size fits all. It's not like here's the flow chart and here's the template we're going to follow. There's nothing like that. And so I hear a lot of that in what you're saying. So to me, that's really exciting. So yeah, love it. Well, before we're going to wrap up now, and before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to say to everyone before we say goodbye until the next time?
Absolutely. So a couple things I want to say before we wrap up. One is, if there's something that you heard today that you're like, ooh, I should do that, do it. Like, do it. Don't wait for the perfect time. Whatever it is, put it in your calendar, schedule it, and do it. My favorite quote is, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And, Molly and I are just having a conversation here today. We're talking about some productivity things. A couple ideas have been flying out there. If you're hearing something and you're thinking, ooh, I should try that, do it, try it. There's nothing to be lost there. So that's my number one takeaway that I want to leave you with. The number two is, if we haven't pushed NAWBO enough, one more time, I want to say, jump on Friday and learn all about delegating. That's what we'll be talking about. It's a great organization. And if that's your one thing to do today, by all means, jump on NAWBO.org and just, take some of the classes. There's some really great webinars coming up the next couple of weeks.
That's so great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for introducing yourself and providing so much wisdom and so much fun, and really appreciate you, Lisa. It's been so nice meeting you. And so you and I are going to stay on so we can coordinate the next session, but we'll say bye to everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and definitely type in the comments if there's something that kind of spurred you to take action today. I love the things that Lisa was saying, so definitely let us know, and I will definitely relay that to Lisa if I see that on the comments. All right, I'll see you next time. Thank you.